the latest coronavirus headlines. Today, the state added 489 new cases, bringing Michigan's total to more than 74,000. 7 new deaths were also announced.
But there is good news regarding a leading coronavirus vaccine from the United Kingdom. Oxford University scientists say their experimental vaccine produced a protective immune response in hundreds of participants.
Details were published in the journal Lancet, and our chief health editor, Dr. Partha Nandi, joins us now to tell us more. Dr. Nandi, the vaccine reporting to have triggered a dual immune response, if I'm saying that correctly. Tell us what that means.
You're saying it absolutely perfectly, and I'm excited. I love giving some good news, and the nice thing is that these come from reputable, really world-renowned journals, and so it sounds really promising, especially this dual immune response. And the testing, remember we talked about this on 7, kicked off back in April with over 1,000 people between the ages of 18 and 55. Only half of them were given the experimental vaccine. The other half were a control group and were given something else. And so far, here's what the researchers have found with the experimental vaccine, that they produced a dual immune response. And your question, what does that mean, right? It means 2 things happen. Number 1 is that researchers found that participants produced neutralizing antibodies, and that's important as they can block infection. But get this, Glenda, number 2, the vaccine also caused a reaction in the body's T cells, and this is fantastic because T cells also can help fight the coronavirus.
You know, Doc, this is great news that things are really starting to move along for a vaccine, but how long did this dual immune response last? And these T cells that you mentioned, how do they actually help with the immune system?
So, Alan, the researchers said that this dual immune response actually lasted at least 2 months. And more researchers needed to see how long it could even last, perhaps even longer. Now, as for T cells, there are immune warriors, and for those of us who are Star Wars fans, they're like our immune Jedis. They're a type of white blood cells that finds, attacks, and destroys body cells that have been infected, and they're able to fight off some viruses. And actually, this is common for successful vaccines to produce both antibodies and T cell response in humans, and that's why it's so promising that this vaccine produced this response.
So, Dr. Nandi, we've also heard that this vaccine comes from the virus that causes the common cold in chimpanzees. Is that true, and is it safe?
So, Glenda, yes and yes. The answers to both of your questions. This vaccine was made from a genetically engineered virus that causes the common cold in chimpanzees, but it's considered safe, and it doesn't cause infection in humans, and that's because this particular common cold virus has been modified, like I said, and changed, and has spike proteins, and it looks more like the coronavirus. So then the body can recognize it and learn how to attack it and destroy it.
You know, Doc, this is really exciting news, but a lot of us want to know right now, were there any side effects reported, and what are the next steps?
Yeah, you can tell I'm all geeked out. My science side is out, right? There were no really dangerous side effects that came out, only minor side effects like fever, muscle aches, and chills. And these were easily managed with acetaminophen, like medicine found in Tylenol. And as to the next steps, the vaccine effectiveness will be tested in a larger trials in multiple countries. So they'll try to get 10,000 people in Britain, 5,000 in Brazil, 2,000 in South Africa, and 30,000 right here in the U.S. So that researchers hope to know more by the end of this year if this vaccine is effective or not. But to me, it's incredibly encouraging that we're getting more responses. And what we have to do in the meantime, hold on and do the right things and take this virus seriously and make sure that we keep the numbers down until we get the vaccine in place.
Very encouraging, Dr. Nandi. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
If you have a coronavirus question for the good doctor, you can email him at drnandi@askdrnandi.com or send it to us on Facebook or Twitter.